Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to another amazing topic of conversation. Thank you to our sponsors, the Health Channel, and now the free telehealth communications by partnering with Amy. And the I Remember bracelet against genocide. And we hope that by, I have to say, that we hope for peace and that everything is calm and prayers for our friends in Ukraine. So as we move forward, I want to welcome Steve Spiro. So welcome. Did I pronounce it okay?
Oh, you did a great job, Gladys. Very, very good. Thank you. Welcome. I'm glad to be here. Very, very honored to be on here with you.
So tell me, before we start, before I drill you with questions, tell me a little bit about your background.
Sure. Yeah. So originally from the Bronx, my dad was an entrepreneur. He owned a liquor store. Grew up in a family business, but dissuaded me from going into that. So wound up going into advertising marketing, went to high school for that, college for that, got out, couldn't get a job, started a company, opened an advertising agency in New York City, and had a really illustrious career in advertising until eventually the economy shifted and I wound up shifting over into technology. And now today consulting through that, built a huge network and wound up being asked to, people started asking me to speak. And so I do speaking as well as I also have a LinkedIn Live broadcast Wednesdays at 1 p.m. called the Master Connector Show. So it's been a blast. Love sharing and live in Stamford, Connecticut today. So we live on the water here, and life's a blast. Life's an adventure. Every day's different. It's pretty wild.
That's amazing. So my first question: what is a master connector?
Yeah, good question, right? So kind of alluded to it, right? So throughout my business career, I've always had multiple things that I've done, and also even in the roles I've had, people often would ask you, when you do a lot of networking and connecting, like I've done over the years, people ask you, what you do, and they want to put you in a cute little box. He's an attorney, she's a CPA, he's a plumber, whatever, she's a teacher. And I don't fit in that cute box. And when people would ask me what I do, and I would tell them, I'd hear back, I don't get it. I'm like, just call me the Master Connector. And that name just seemed to stick. So having the fact that I have, 17,000 contacts on my phone and 17,000 LinkedIn connections and growing quickly to having the ability, like we talked about before, to connecting people. I love being able to connect the dots for people. I love the ability of connecting in a very meaningful way with the people that are in my network. The name Master Connector was born. I didn't want to be called a master networker because I think that the younger generation in particular looks at networking like kind of like prostitution, like soliciting. It's looked down upon. So Master Connector is a much better name to define what I'm about. It's not my job or business, so to speak, but it's who I am as a person.
So literally you just like to connect the dots or connect people.
That is one big part of what I do and why I like to call myself a master connector. That is correct. Yes.
So what is that part and what is the not that part?
Say the question again.
Because you say that is part of what I do. So what is the small part of what you do?
Okay.
I'm connecting people.
Yeah. So number one, when I reach out to people, one of the things I say in my messaging when I'm reaching out is, listen, it's good to be connected, but my feeling is if you don't know much about the person, what's written in their profile, what good is connecting? So let's jump on a call. I've got a pretty large network. I know a lot of people, and perhaps I can open some doors and maybe it makes some introductions. So many times when I'm speaking with somebody and I feel there's really good synergy, like you and I, Gladys, had when we initially connected, I'm thinking to myself, my brain is going into search mode. I'm like, okay, who do I know in my network that I can connect them with that would add value for them, right? If they're saying to themselves, I'm looking for help on how to leverage LinkedIn better. Okay, maybe I have a couple of people in my mind that I could think about that I could connect them with. Or if they're like, I really need to do some more networking. Maybe I've got some networking groups that I can have them come and be a part of and meet some of the people in my network that way. Sometimes if they're really impressive to me, I'll even open up my network and say, listen, put a small list of people in my contact, people that I'm connected with on LinkedIn, and I'll literally make an introduction that way. It really depends, but I'm always thinking about, okay, who can I connect them with? What is a way I can do it that way? So that's one part of the connecting, if you will, that connecting the dots, so to speak.
So that's the part that we relate to, because I always connect to people. I've been called
Absolutely.
always not a master connector, but I've been called the connector.
I love it. Yeah. The other part of connecting that, and why I like the word master connector and the phrase of it, is really connecting, and we may want to talk about this later a little bit more, but connecting authentically, right? So when you connect with somebody, there is one way to connect. And when I do these calls that I like to get on, like you and I had, you could start, I call it the what do you do dance, well, what do you do? Well, what do you do? And I hate that. I really do. Just despise it. And I usually stop the conversation in midstream and I'm like, can we do something a little different today? Why don't we start with getting to know each other a little bit first about our backgrounds, our stories, our backstory, our journey, right? And then we could get to, the whole, what we do professionally, right? Kind of let the kids inside of ourselves play in the sandbox a little bit before we kind of talk personal, talk the business side of things, right? So that's another way. It's connecting authentically, and I do that through video calls, Zoom calls. I like to say I do that through what I write and put out in social media. My main sandbox is LinkedIn for me. But, putting out, whether it be written messages, I'll often put out a message about something about me personally. I put out a post recently. I had a shot of me as a kid, and, I talked about how I was shy, introverted, and those kinds of things, and which is true. I don't know if I mentioned this to your viewers yet, but I grew up very shy, introverted. So the irony of being this shy, introverted, picked on, bullied, learning disabled, dyslexic kid, to what people call me they refer to me as the master connector. It's crazy, but I like to
But you
share that.
learned.
Yeah. So I like to share that part of it and kind of share, a little bit of vulnerability. I like to be vulnerable. I like to show those things, those weaknesses that I've had in the past. So that to me is another way of connecting, because you're connecting with the audience of people that are looking at your profile, that are looking at your posts, right? Even on my videos, I share personal stories. I don't, I'm not trying to be this guy that's perfect, because I think nobody's perfect, right? So that's another connecting aspect of it, right? And then just being able to be out there and be others focused, right? And being a giver. That's another way that I believe you can be a connector, right? We talked about. So,
But I think what you're saying is very true, because behind the message, like, hi, how are you? What do you do? There's not much more. Like, how do
yeah,
you connect?
sure.
Especially over LinkedIn, because I know LinkedIn is not my forte, and I try to connect and I never get a response. So there I
Mhm.
need a whole lesson from you.
Well, I'll tell you that if you want a quick answer on that, number one, it's going to be a numbers game, right? So with LinkedIn, I have some good messaging, and I have some good credibility. If if people look at my profile, they're typically going to be like, okay, this guy's got his act together. Okay. So that's one hack, is you want to make sure you have a good LinkedIn profile, because people are going
Authentic.
to take you seriously, right? Yeah, authentically, it's got to be something that people look at and they're like, okay, this person's got some value here. But the other part of it is when you send a message, I find there's got to be a WIFM, and that's an acronym. I think it's like WIIFM, and which stands for what's in it for me. In other words, the person that's reading it, they've got to think to themselves, what's in it for me here? So if your message is, hey, it's good to connect, let's jump on a call, I'm thinking to myself, I've got 1,000 things going on in my life. Why the heck would I bother getting on a call with you? What's in it for me? So I've turned my messaging so that I'm thinking, okay, if I'm in the shoes of this person, what's in it for them? Well, hopefully they see that I can add value because of some of my experience. I've got a big network I could bring to the table. Maybe I could open some doors. And that might be why they would jump on a call with me. So it's again, it's got to be, you got to think about what they're thinking and what's in it for them.
What's in it for them?
Mhm.
I wanted to share something, especially since you're really a connector, of an experience that I had many years ago when I was president of NABO, the National Association of Women Business Owners in Miami. And I created, it was called the Friday Breakfast.
Yep.
And we met, it started like the first Friday of every month, and then it became like every Friday. But it really was, even before that, there were, even before the networking groups. And we just met, it was a few women, and it was with the sole purpose of how can we help each other. So we started the breakfast like, who needs help? And I specifically remember that one day, and it stayed in my mind, there was this guy that came to our meeting. And of course, we welcomed. It wasn't that we were just women and no men could come. We welcomed him. We found out that he worked in insurance and his target was women. So that's why he came. And one of the ladies, she had a nursing company and she was desperately looking for a nurse in my area, in the Aventura area. And I happened to know of a nurse that was looking for a job. So I immediately told her, give me half an hour and I'll get you her number. And the guy said, why would you do that? And I go, what do you mean? Why would you do that? This is what we're here for, to help each other, to connect with each other. And he goes, yeah, but you're giving her the number and she's going to make money out of that number. That's her business. And I looked at him like very puzzled, like, it's okay. I'm like connecting. She needs a job. She will benefit from that. What's the problem? And he said, all of you women do the same. And he just stood up and left. And it always kept on my mind that why? So somebody said that it was more gender based. He said, we men will never do that. Like if there's nothing in it for us. And when you mention what's in it for me, it
Yeah.
wasn't about, it was very unselfish. It was
Sure.
literally helping others. Like in other words, authentically
Yeah.
helping others. But with all your connections and all your experience, I'm talking about connecting. Have you ever run or the difference between the gender?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we can get down that road, and of course, that's not PC anymore, right? As we've had to grow as a society and so forth, kind of talking gender too much. But I think in general, yeah, I mean, in my experience, in general, women are more relational based, and men are a little more transactional based. Although there's a lot of overlap in a lot of that areas, right? I've grown from being very kind of transactional into relational based over the years. And so I'm sure there are some men that are much more relational like me. And then there are women that are also some transactional, right? Where they just they're just about doing business, right?
Yeah,
So I think in general, where you're going with that, and what I could say is that if you're transactional is another way of saying, or agenda based, right? The kind of like, okay, I'm not going to do something unless I get something for it.
correct.
And I belong to some networking groups where we're very much relational based, and sort of it's set off often. Let's ditch the pitch, right? So like get rid of the pitch, right? Not trying to sell something, but see how you could add value. And one of my favorite books is The Go-Giver by the author Bob Berg, and he's got a whole series of books. So, and that's why I've even added it to my profile on LinkedIn. Call myself one of the things I refer to as a go-giver. But I have two very strong talks that I like to give as a speaker, and one is on connecting authentically, but the other one is on going from being inward focused, self-absorbed, to others focused, to be that go-giver. And I think sometimes a lot of us we just want to kind of help ourselves. But what I've learned is the more you give others, the more you help others, the more you get. This 2020 was a big year for me. And I made some commitments. I put together a life's mission statement at the very beginning of 2020, just before the pandemic hit. And I decided I was going to be focused on that mission statement, which was really others focused. And I had the best year financially. This past year, 2022, 21 rather, was even better. So I found that the more I give, the more you get, right? It's the law of reciprocity, the law of sowing and reaping. You reap, eventually you sow, right? You give, you eventually get. And you know, who knows, that lady, that nurse that you were referring to, maybe down the line could be your best client or best referral source because you did the right thing by her. But that's not why you're doing it, right? Because you never know what things are going to come from.
No.
You don't know. And so if you're being very short-sighted, number one, people see through that. People are kind of repelled by it. I find that when I jump on a connecting call where somebody is just they've got an agenda, they're trying to sell me something or get me to do something, I see it and the wall goes up, quite frankly. So it's way better when somebody's thinking, they're leading with, hey, what can I do to help you? What's a way that I can be a blessing to you? And when you do that, you find that a lot more doors open. If you're transactional or agenda-based, it's tough. I know on LinkedIn, talked about LinkedIn, a lot of people are still pitching on LinkedIn. I don't get nasty. I don't block them. I just say, I respond back with a very kind message saying something to the effect of, hey, I appreciate the aggressive approach because I want to be in their shoes. I'm thinking I want to be empathetic. I want to say to myself, okay, if I was in their shoes, if nobody trained me, would I do the same thing? And probably the answer is yes. I appreciate the aggressive approach, but I do business with people I know, like, and trust. And I'm open to getting on a call to learn more about you as a person before I start hearing about your pitch, about your services. But if you're open to that, let's get on a call. If not, it's okay. You know, and that's it. Hopefully I'm kind of educating them in a very kind way, but at the same time, standing my ground. I'm not looking to get pitched. So being others focused, being trying to be more of a go-giver is always a better way to go, especially if you're going to use networking, right? If, he sounded like he was an insurance salesman. I'm not saying most insurance salespeople are like this, but I've come across a few that are, and that could give the industry a bad reputation because people are very much focused like that,
Like the sales car.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a car.
Yeah.
And for me, that draws the line.
Yeah.
But being a connector and connecting with a lot of people, I'm going to shift a lot. In Latin America, there's a saying, and it translates a lot. Okay, so how do I go? What's in it for me? But it translates in a very different meaning. It's a more monetary meaning. Like, okay, I'm going to connect you with this person, and if you do business, what's in it for me? And I think that is part of why Latin America is very far behind, because everybody wants part of the deal.
Yeah.
Have you ever run into that part here that would put the wall up?
I mean, the best thing I could say to that is this, that I have people that come to me with, affiliate programs where they say, here, this is the kind of clients I'm looking for, and, sign this piece of paper and then you'll get a spiff on the back end of it.
But that's different.
Yeah.
That's different. That's like a business transaction.
Yeah.
That's like a business transaction. And a lot of that's, in my world, that's called business development.
Yeah.
And either if you are on a retainer or if you're by a percentage, that's totally fine. But it's the people that would say, okay, if I connect you to someone and if you do business, I want a cut.
I got to say that, and maybe it's because of who I am and how I approach things, but I haven't come across a lot of people that have done that with me. The only thing, anything close, was what I was referring to, which is they want to come to me with some type of a, affiliate program agreement. But other than that, I haven't had a lot of experience with that.
So that's definitely cultural.
It probably is. I mean, probably means for me, I need to talk to more people that are Latin American in base, because I'm not coming across enough people with that mentality.
Definitely cultural.
Yeah.
So, totally changing the subject.
Sure.
I heard you speak on success,
Yes.
and success is very different for each person.
Mhm.
What is success for you?
Well, I heard it said that success is the progression of a worthwhile dream or goal, right? That's success, right? It's a journey, not destination. So that's one part of it. But I think the biggest part of, for me, what success is how many people are better because you are here. That to me is true success. And again, I mentioned a mission, life's mission statement, and some of that is how I want the world to be a better place. And I know that that can happen one person at a time. And so if people that I come in contact with or come across with, I could help them and they could be better. And maybe there's a ripple effect, right? Where the world could be better, right? And you started out by talking about the craziness that's going out over in Ukraine. If we could just have a positive impact with one person, there's a ripple effect there. One of my favorite movies is the movie, Pay It Forward, with
Yeah, me too.
Kevin Spacey. It's a hard, tough ending on the movie, but the premise is great, right? You help two or three people, and they're obligated to help two or three people, and the world will just be a better place when it's all said and done. Now, that you're dealing with people, so people are flawed, and so it's an amazing concept. So who's better because I'm here? That's, to me, what's true success. It's not about a certain amount of money. It's not about how many cars I could have or the house. It's none of that for me. It's who's better off, because I don't, my wife and I don't have kids, and so our legacy is our mentorship, right? So we want to bless a lot of people. We believe in mentorship, and we've been mentored, and we pay it forward, because again, when we go on to the next part of our eternity, right? We want to be able to be a ripple effect of because we were here, and so we made a difference. So that's success for me.
I love it. And I'm going to pitch in because my foundation, The Power of the Healed, is all about mentoring
Love
and
that.
it's all about giving back.
Yeah.
So I love what you said. My father used to say that the biggest blessing is to do the job you like. And on top of it, if you get paid for it, that's the icing on the cake.
It's great. Love that. Yeah.
So that was because that's very interesting. You have a lot of connections, and people are very selfish. Like, I will never give you my connections. So that is the other part that is based on selfishness and unselfish.
Yep.
How do
Yeah.
you tell me a little bit about that? Because I know you have I know you speak on, I don't know how you call it, but it's about the selfishness and not being selfish on
Yeah.
everything you do.
Going from inward focus to others focus. Yeah. I mean, there are people on, and again, I'm a big LinkedIn guy. On LinkedIn, you could block the ability for anyone to see who you're connected with, or you could choose to have that open. Why would I block it? Like, I don't get it. Like, what is the problem? You know who I'm connected with. Why is that a bad thing? Why am I worried about that? I'm not. So to me, the network that I have is an asset. It's an amazing community I've continued to build. I'm very blessed to have the people in my community. I value them. I'm always trying to put out good content to them. And I know that, there's a saying, right? Your net worth is in direct proportion with your network. So I'm always growing that network, but I look at that network as an asset. And so I'm not going to be selfish with it, because again, who knows, someone who I connect with
Will
who's
come
not in my
back.
current network, yeah, it'll come back. And, it's just, I don't really understand why people would be selfish. I'm not going to judge them per se. I don't believe in the practice. I think it's super important to be a giver, a go-giver, just, be open to sharing. And, it's this sort of collaborative co-opetition, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot in the networking group that I'm a part of. There are people that come and we have exclusivity in the different, positions. Like there might be somebody who's a IT person, right? So our group allows another IT person to come visit. They can't join because that seat is taken, but they're allowed to come join because they come visit, because who knows, maybe they could collaborate together. There's always that possibility. It's an openness versus protecting my turf, right? It's my ball. If we don't play with my ball, I'm taking my ball away from the playground, and nobody can play. I mean, that's childish. It's let's all be adults. The world is massive. There's a lot
Huge.
of people. Yeah. Let's be open versus closed.
I love it. And with that, I have to say that our time is over.
Disappointing. You keep going on for a
So
half hour more.
hopefully, your show is the Master Connector on Wednesday at 1, right?
1 p.m. Eastern. It's called the Master Connector Show. We're going to be, we broadcast every Wednesday, and it's a half-hour segment. And hopefully, we also do it on YouTube. If somebody's not on LinkedIn, we also broadcast on Facebook, simulcast on Facebook as well. So hopefully on Twitter. So if no one's on LinkedIn, you can join us that way as well.
Steve, thank you so much. And
Absolutely.
everybody, stay safe. Hopefully next week we can say that all the world is at peace. So stay safe above all, and thank you.